Fanny from Mobility Training. In this video I want to talk about the glutes, and we're going to have a look at their function when they are shortening and when they are lengthening. Because I went to this course called Anatomy in Motion a few months ago, and they are talking about a few different rules, and one of the rules is that joints act and muscles react, which is a very interesting concept to think about. So it basically speaks about the bones and the joints changing their position, and therefore the muscles are reacting to where they are and what positions they're in. The other thing they're talking about is that muscles lengthen before they contract, which I also find quite interesting, especially if we are talking about the glutes. And you've probably heard from a lot of people that the glutes are often asleep or they're lazy and that sort of thing. And people tend to do the clam exercise where you have the band around the knees and they walk to the side and that sort of thing. And that doesn't really take the glutes into range of motion so that it can then efficiently contract. So I'm going to have a look at the glutes in this video with these two rules from Anatomy in Motion in mind. It's a bit different to how a lot of people are thinking about it, and that's what I really like about it, because I've seen personally when I've tried a few different motions and tried a few different ways of engaging my muscles, that these two rules are actually quite true for me, I suppose. So firstly, I'm going to bunch up the glute muscles, the glute max, medius and minimus in one sort of category today, just to make it a bit more simple. So we're looking at the glutes where they attach or origin and insert. So they attach up here, basically on the pelvis. The maximus goes on the inside, so the sacrum area as well. And then they go across down and they attach to the femur. So it's the pelvis and the femur that they go across. So with that in mind, we know that for the glute muscles to shorten, we need to extend the hip. We also need to externally rotate and also then abduct. So basically bringing the leg out to the side. So it's extension, it's external rotation and abduction. So that's to contract and shorten the muscle. But if we are going to go by the rule that muscles lengthen before they contract, what we want to do is the complete opposite and then go into that contracted position or shortened position. So I'm going to show a movement that will do that. So instead of going into extension at the hip, we then need to go into flexion. I'll show you from the side. So we're going to have a look at going into flexion. And instead of doing abduction, we're going to do adduction, which we can do by hiking this hip like this. That shortens the space on the inside here, which means that the hip is actually going into the midline, adducting. And then it also externally rotates to contract. So what we can do is we can go into internal rotation. So the way I'm going to do that is by turning towards this leg a little bit here. So a little bit of rotation. I could even reach out a little bit here. Now I am lengthening the glutes as a group here, like this. And then I can go back, whoop, keeping my balance. And then I'm going to again flex. I'm going to adduct. So I'm hiking this hip, I'm dropping on the other side, and then I'm going to rotate as well. So I'm going to rotate out here and then come back up. So this will allow the glute muscles to really fire up. I'm going to go here. And you can of course play around a little bit with this. For some people, they are not going to need so much flexion at the hip before they start feeling it. Other people will need a little bit more potentially, and the same thing goes with the adduction, so hiking of this hip here, and then also rotation. So I can feel when I go into flexion, adduction, and internal rotation here, that I am getting a good stretch on the glutes, and I can also feel that they are working here. And then I simply use the glutes to push myself back here. I think this one is an excellent exercise to do as a warm-up, or even sometimes I have a bit of problems with my left hip, and what I've done in the past is I've taken a ball and I've been sitting on it and rolling around, or foam rolling or something like that, and that doesn't seem to work so well for me. It actually aggravates it even more. So I would recommend trying some movements like this and think for yourself, okay, where does the muscle go, and how does that muscle contract? In what motion? Where does the joint and bones need to go? And then try and get the opposite, so get into a lengthened position before you then contract. Try this motion and let me know in the comments how you feel.